All right, this next video we're going to dive into our levers. And so the first thing they have us do in the lesson is unload any levels that we have loaded. So changing our streaming to blueprint, toggling off the vision, and then we're going to go and get our level 2 visible, current, and loaded. And so now in the middle, I just press 2 in the middle of my screen. That takes me to the default view here. And we are looking at our lever. So we can hit play, and this is our first kind of representation of how mass is going to apply inside of our physics simulations in Unreal. So we're going to be playing around a lot with that. And so our first goal is to evenly balance the weight on the lever. So we can duplicate our weight here. If we hold the Alt key and drag over, we can have it go. If we actually delete that and make sure that our snapping is on, when I Alt, it'll snap to all of the different lines so that it's exactly where I want it to be. And if I move it to the same line on the lever, it should stay relatively flat. It might have some variance, but for the most part, it stayed level. If we're getting any warnings about the actors being placed outside of the current level, you just hit OK, and that's okay. So what they're highlighting here in the next part is that if you go in the middle of our move tool, we can move along planes as well. So if I want to be on the bottom plane, I can move it around here. If I want to move on this plane, I can move on this plane, and same with this far one. So that's how we can move around our weight in some different ways. So then the next thing that it's showing is more just physics simulation. So if we move this one out and we move these guys in and duplicate, we'll start to see how that weight can be counterbalanced in different ways. So if we move them in, I think they actually have their snapping set to 5 so that they can go in between. And we can see this will balance out a little bit more. And so we're starting to understand how these levers are set up. At this point, they just want you to save. Control-Shift-S saves everything. You can go File, Save All here, or you can press the Save button in the top left. So now we're going to do some more with some unbalanced forces, so we can work with the scale of our object. And with that scale, we can see what happens. So we can use the scale tool. This weight is set up in a way that as we scaled it up, it actually changes the weight. So if I hit play, we'll see that it goes pretty fast, pretty instantly. And then if we move it up using our move tool, we can see it kind of smack the lever. And if we do some fun things with it, we can put that weight at the end and it'll jump and launch a little bit, which is kind of fun. In this section, it talks a little bit more about snapping. So we can right click and snap our object to the ground. So we can snap it origin to the grid, snap it, snap to the floor, and move things around that way. Or we can just press the end key, END, on our keyboard, and that snaps it to the next floating surface. So now we are going to look at how we can change our lever. So there's 2 blue diamonds on this one, so similar to our inclined plane last time. If we drag these blue diamonds around, we can change the location of the lever, and we can also change how big our base is. So then if we drag these 2 up, press end, it gives a little bit more movement for that lever, which lets that weight kind of go all the way through. So I'm going to go Control-Z a couple times, get my lever back down. So then you can see, playing around with that lever location, what changes if we had it on this side, what would happen? Probably not a lot, but if we go and move it the opposite direction, we might get a little bit more motion from our weight as it's on the edge, right? And so this is all just playing around with the physics inside of our physics engine, which is really fun. We can also change these things inside of our details panel. So on the right hand side of my screen, we can change our base dimensions in here. We can do our spacing, the length of the lever, how much the original lever rotation is at, and then the lever location. They also implemented end stoppers, so if you had like a ball on it or a pancake per chance, you might be able to add some end stoppers on there as well. And that's the same with our weights too. So you can see we can, change the weight of our mass by turning on user defined and then dragging our scale, which is a different way to edit that mass. At any point, if you wanted to reset anything, you can reset with the reset toggle, and that will put it all back to where it originally was at. All right, so our first challenge in this lesson in this unit is to flip a pancake from this kitchen island where we're at currently over to the table where you might get a pancake served to you. So what we're going to do before I set you free to look at this, we're going to head back to geometry scripts in our content drawer, drag in a new lever, and then we're also going to find and create a pancake. So if we go to our static meshes, we have a food folder, and in our food folder, we have a pancake. Something that can happen with our engines is that our pancake goes through our lever. And so what I recommend that you do is that you just scale it to be just a little bit thicker, and that'll help with that from happening. But we need to set up our pancake a little bit here. So in our physics menu, in our details panel, we need to simulate physics, and we can set our mass, and I'm going to set mine to 0.0 or 0.1 kilograms. And so that way it has some weight as it's on my lever. I'm actually going to drag over this weight, and we can start to see what we're looking for here. And so it'll be your job in this first challenge to get that pancake from the island to the kitchen table or to the dining table. All right, hopefully you've made your pancake get over to the dining room table by using the lever. And so we're going to move on to our engine activity, where we're going to start to understand our materials. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go to our content drawer. We're going to find our materials folder, and we're going to make a new folder called My Materials or My Mats. And the way to do that, again, you can do a couple ways. So opening our content drawer, we have an add button that lets us add a new folder, or we can right click in an open space and add a new folder. So then I'll double click into there, and then I can right click, and this material that's popped up right here at the top is what we're going to make. And so I'm going to call this my mat, and that's where we'll start here. And so now we can double click this, and we get a new pop out, and we got a somewhat new editor window that we're going to work with. And we're going to use our material graph to create a new material to put onto the boxes that our weights are sitting on back in the kitchen. So we can come in and we can do a couple things. We could hold the 3 key and left click and get a 3 vector constant. But what we want to do so that this is more editable in the future is I'm going to right click where it says base color. I'm going to promote that to a parameter. I'm going to call this color. Then I can double click in and I can select what color I want it to be. So I'm going to go purple. And where we're at currently, this could be your material. We can be happy with how this material is functioning. But we can do some fun things, which is what they're asking us to do. Um, we can make sure that any asset using our material reacts when simulating physics, even if it's just sitting still for a long time. We can save some compute power by assigning a parameter, assigning an awake material, physics material on it. So we can select our MyMat kind of breakout here. And in our physics material section, we should be able to find our physical material, and physics material we can set to PM awake. And so that will help with saving some compute, making our computers run happier, so that we're not just running things all the time. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to apply if it's still there. And now I can head back to the kitchen. And if I just click and drag that material from my content drawer onto one of my boxes, now I've got a purple box out in my world. And so the next challenge I have for you is to create 2 more colors so that you have 3 colors of bins here on your screen. And then we've got some extension activities here at the end, which is how you guys will wrap up. And so we need to, with our materials, your job is to make changes to the metallic value, make a metallic material, something that's a little reflective, and then to see what the roughness does. And so for your screenshot, you can zoom out and I can see all kind of 3 things here. When you hit play, your pancake can be on the table and I can see the 3 boxes, and that's a good screenshot for this one.